Yo, what is up? What's good, everybody? Today I got a 2021 NBA mock draft. We're about 2 weeks away, a little less than that from the draft. So I'm gonna do my mock draft here. V1 is probably the only version I'm gonna do. We still have workouts going on. The combine's over, but the workouts are still going on, so that could change some things. I do have to preface a few things before this starts. This is based off of what I think teams will do, not necessarily what I would do. So that's one thing. Also, there's going to be no trades included in this. It's too hard to project trades and what could happen. There's so many rumors. You don't know what's real, what's true, what's actually going to happen or not. And um, and one more thing is like guys could go higher than I have them. All it takes is one out of the 30 teams to take them high. And like, there's always going to be people who go higher than anticipated and also drop farther than they're expected to go. So it's hard to project those type of things and see and think what teams are actually thinking. So I'm just going to do my best to do a mock draft. And here we go. So pick one. I've got Cade Cunningham going to the Detroit Pistons. Cade is a 6'8" guard who he can play make well. He turns the ball over a bit too much, but he can clean up on that. He's a good shooter. He can take over games. He can control the game with handling the ball. He's got great size and wingspan. He can defend multiple positions. This will move Killian Hayes to the bench, which is not a huge deal. Killian didn't play a lot last year. I think he's still super young. He has some stuff to clean up, so he can come off the bench, and they could play together too because Cade really is a wing in terms of his size. Second pick, I've got Houston taking Jalen Green, guard, wing, from the G League. There's been rumors going around that, if Detroit sticks at one, they'll take Cade and Green will go two, and they prefer him over Mobley. Houston's unique situation is like their best two building blocks is a scoring guard and a big man, and that's the best two options here with Green and Mobley. Green's ceiling is higher, and I think the situation where him and KPJ could play next to each other is probably a better fit than Mobley and Wood. So I think Green and KPJ would be a really dynamic young backcourt. Green is pretty similar. He's more athletic than KPJ and less off the court issues, but he's athletic. He can score at all three levels, create his own shot. I think he could be a good defender in the future as well. And then that leaves Mobley to go to Cleveland at number three, big man from USC, 7 foot. I think him next to Jared Allen is not a bad fit. I think Cleveland's going to stick here. If they don't trade out of this pick, move down or get a veteran asset or something, I think they'll just take whoever's here out of Green and Mobley. I think Mobley next to Allen, that's two 7-footers, twin towers in today's game. You don't see it a lot. You see the Bucks, they're in the finals right now. They got two 7-footers. Obviously, Mobley's not Giannis, but I think he can defend kind of like Giannis, and he moves his feet well enough and is laterally quick enough where he can guard perimeter guys from time to time. I think he's a solid four. He's a prototypical five in today's NBA, but he can play the four. He can shoot a little bit, set screens, catch lobs, and continue to expand his game. He could be a really good player. Number four, Toronto. I think they'll go Suggs or Barnes. I've got him going Jalen Suggs, the one and done guard from Gonzaga. 6'3", 6'4". He's strong. He's a good leader. He plays super hard. A lot of grit. He's not a great shooter, but he can shoot a little bit. He can play make. He can play either guard spot. I think with them probably losing Kyle Lowry, he can play next to Van Vliet very well. I think they'll complement each other. Two guards that play really hard and can play make and play off of each other. Number five, I've got Orlando taking Scotty Barnes, the forward from Florida State. Scotty is a guy I really like. I think in Orlando, they're just looking for best player available. And if it's Barnes or Kuminga here, I think they'll go Barnes. I think he's probably a lower risk of busting out, and I think he's just going to be able to come in and play make. I actually think he can be a good shooter, although there is questions surrounding his jump shot. He's a very versatile defender. He's a 6'9" point guard. He's super athletic. He's quick. He's strong for a 19-year-old, 20-year-old. So yeah, I've got him going to the Magic. Six, I've got the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Jonathan Kuminga, the forward from the G League. He's super young. He reclassified a year, so he really should be next year's draft class. But he is about 6'8" forward who's pretty athletic, can handle the ball a little bit. I think is an underrated part of his game. He's a versatile defender. He can guard multiple positions. He's athletic. His jump shot is in question, is if it's going to be like consistent enough to for him to be a main scoring option in the league. But I think he has a super high upside, and for a team like OKC, I think he's a great fit because they're not really trying to win now. They're just trying to collect a lot of young assets with their picks, and I think with guys like him and Pakusevsky and Shea and Dort, it's a nice little young nucleus for OKC to build around. 7, Golden State. This pick definitely could end up getting traded, but like I said, I'm not projecting trades. If they do stick here, I've got him taking Josh Giddey, the 6'8" point guard from Australia. Giddey is a guy who he can play make. He can, similar to Cade, he can guard wings. He's got good size for a point guard, but he can play make. He can score. I think Giddey lacks athleticism and speed, but he's improved on his shooting, and everything else is there. I'm not really going to do too many comparisons here, but I am going to compare him to Luka. Not saying he'll ever be that good necessarily, but in terms of he relies more on his skill and his IQ than his athleticism and speed. 8, I've got the Orlando Magic here with the Bulls pick, taking Davion Mitchell, guard out of Baylor. A little bit older than most guys going in this range. He was at Baylor, or in college, I should say, for multiple years. I think he probably goes 7, 8, 9 range. He had a really strong season last year, was the best player on the team that won the championship. He plays super hard. I think Orlando has a lot of guards already, but if they take Barnes as a forward at 5, if he's there, I think you probably go with best player available here, which I think is Davion Mitchell. He shot the ball really well from 3. He's a little bit undersized at about 6 foot, but he can play either guard spot because he's strong and plays hard. I think he can be a little bit of a combo guard. I don't know if his upside's as high as some other guys going in this range, but I think coming in and right away he should be one of the most productive players. He's a really good on-ball defender, and like I said, he plays very hard. Number 9, Sacramento. I've got him taking Franz Wagner, the forward out of the University of Michigan. Franz was there for a couple years. He's another guy whose ceiling isn't necessarily as high as, some of these one-and-dones, but he's going to come in and produce right away. And I think for Sacramento, a team that's probably going to be looking to move on from Bagley, I think Franz could potentially step in there and be the other forward next to Barnes. He's a guy that can come in and contribute right away. He can shoot the ball. He can guard multiple positions. He's actually got some underrated athleticism to him and quickness. And I think, him at 9 is about the spot where he's probably going to go, give or take a pick or two. 10, the New Orleans Pelicans. I've got them taking James Bouknight, the guard out of UConn. I'm very high on Bouknight. I might have him be going a little bit higher than he might go. I could see him going as low as like 16 maybe, but I really like him. I think for a team that already has a lot of guards, it's a tough decision here, but I think he's best player available. New Orleans, obviously their best 2 players are forwards, but they have a lot of guards. I think they're probably going to let Lonzo and Josh Hart go, and then you're left with Bledsoe, Alexander Walker, and Kira Lewis. And I think Bouknight's probably better than all of them in terms of scoring the basketball. Bouknight does have some injury history. He had last year at UConn, in and out of the lineup, but he's athletic. He's got good size at 6'4", and he can score the ball really well. He's got a great mid-range game. Like I said, I'm not going to do a lot of comparisons, but a little bit of comparison. I see a little bit of Bradley Beal in him, the way he can score at all 3 levels and put the ball in the hoop, and that's his main thing he does. He doesn't do anything else great. Number 11, I've got Charlotte taking Alperen Sengun, the big man from Turkey. Sengun, Charlotte needs a center. Whether they go out and trade for a Miles Turner or sign a Rashawn Holmes or whatever they do at center, I don't think Sengun's the starter right away, but I think he's a guy you can develop as a backup, and then maybe he's your starter by the time he's on like his 3rd, 4th year in the league, and you can move on and from whoever they get this offseason. But I don't think he's a plug-and-play starter, but he's a guy, he's developing his shot. He's still super young. He's strong. He can catch lobs. He's actually pretty athletic, moves pretty well. I don't know if he's, a rim protector necessarily. He's not a Miles Turner, but I think, he's a good, solid, all-around young project. Number 12, San Antonio, I've got them taking Jalen Johnson, the forward from Duke. Obviously, he didn't finish out his full year at Duke. They weren't very good last year. He left in his one season there, like midway through the year. So there's some questions about him as a person there. But I don't really, look at that too much. I'm not a huge Jalen Johnson guy, but I think he probably will go in the lottery, late lottery. I think San Antonio needs a forward. They have Keldon Johnson, but outside of him, they have a lot of wings and guards. So getting a forward here that can handle the ball. He's not a great shooter yet, but he's a versatile defender. He's pretty athletic. He can throw it down. I think Jalen Johnson's versatility is somewhat similar to John Isaac, who was picked maybe 5 years ago, who Spurs were linked to a lot, trying to trade up to Magic's pick and get him that year. Obviously, they didn't end up being able to, but Jalen Johnson kind of reminds me of him, and obviously they still have the same front office, so I think they'll like a guy like Jalen Johnson if he's there at 12. 13, I've got the Indiana Pacers taking Corey Kispert. He was at Gonzaga all 4 years. He's a sharp-shooting wing. His ceiling's not super high, but I think he'll go probably 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 range. I don't see him falling out of probably the top 18, but for a team like Indiana, who probably is a playoff team, now that they got Rick Carlisle as the coach, and if they can get fully healthy, their starting five's really solid, and even, they have some good bench pieces too, depending on who they retain, but I think Corey can come in and come off the bench and shoot the ball well. Maybe if they lose McDermott in free agency, he can somewhat take that role of like a sharpshooter. He's not much more than that. He's got good size at about 6'6", and he's strong. But he's really just a shooter, and that's what you're betting on. He's going to come in and shoot, maybe 40% from three as a rookie, that he's 22. 14, I got Golden State up again. I've got him taking Keon Johnson, the guard from Tennessee. I like Keon a lot, but he's just so raw right now offensively that I don't really know if he's going to go in the top 10. I have him slipping a little bit here than most mock drafts at 14, so I've got them taking Giddey at 7, who's a big guard, and Keon here at 14, who's about a 6'3", 6'4" off guard. He can handle the ball a little bit. He's not really a scorer or playmaker. He's super athletic, obviously shattered the vertical record at the Combine with a 48-inch vertical this year, and then he's a very good defender. He's athletic. Offensively, like I said, he can handle the ball a little bit, but he's so raw. I think he needs to go to a team like Golden State where he can develop a little bit, maybe in the G League or maybe just playing limited minutes off the bench for most of his first year or two in the league. 15, we're officially outside of the lottery. The Washington Wizards are up. I've got him taking Moses Moody, the wing out of Arkansas. I like Moody a lot. He was just kind of inconsistent at Arkansas. Some games, he'd shoot good percentages, have a 20-point game, and then some games, he'd have like 9 and shoot, 25, 30%. So he's got to, he's kind of rough around the edges. He's got to smooth that out, but he's got a really good wingspan, good size at about 6'6" for, a 2. I think he can come off the bench and be like a scoring backup to Brad Beal. I like Moses Moody a lot, and I think he's probably in this range of like mid-first round, maybe even a lottery pick. 16, OKC, I've got him taking Isaiah Jackson, the big man from the University of Kentucky. I'm a big Isaiah Jackson guy. First college game I saw him play was early in the year when they were kind of doing that like round-robin thing. Was it Gonzaga they might have been playing? I can't remember exactly, but, I just really like his rim protection abilities. On offense, he's not much more than a lob threat and a screener, at least at this point, but defensively, I think, I really like his rim protection, and he actually moves pretty well, so I think he can switch off on guys. For a team like OKC who needs a center, right now their centers like Isaiah Roby, they need a center who can protect the rim and back up these young perimeter guys who are probably going to get burnt a lot. Not talking about Dort or Shea, but like if they get a Kuminga, Baisley, Pokusevski, these guys are not great defenders right now, so I think he can clean up there. They're probably going to take a big with one of their 3 first-round picks. 17, I've got Memphis taking Zaire Williams, the one-and-done forward out of Stanford. He's got good size, good length. He's a guy who is a big-time prospect coming out of Sierra Canyon. He had an underwhelming year at Stanford. He was projected to be a top 10 pick, and then he kind of fell. Maybe about a month ago, he was projected to be late first, and now he's moving up again. I've got him going here 17. Memphis is a team who doesn't need anybody to come in and start. They need someone who has a high ceiling, I think. They already got contributors in last year's draft from Desmond Bane, Xavier Tillman. They got Grayson Allen off the bench, even Brandon Clark, guys that have came in and contributed right away. I think now they could look for a guy like Zaire who they could develop. He's 19, he's got good size, like I said, and he's got potential. He's just super raw and inefficient right now. Next up at pick 18, OKC up again. I've got him taking Sharif Cooper, the point guard from Auburn. He was one and done there. I like him a lot. He's not the biggest guy, not the fastest. He is pretty fast, but he's not he's not a jumper. He's not like going to go dunk on people. He's not a great defender. Like I said, he's small. He's about 6'1", 6'2", but he can play make really well. He averaged like 8 assists in his 1 year at Auburn. He can score, get to the bucket, draw fouls. His shooting's a little bit inconsistent, but for a team like OKC, I think with him, if you had like him and Maladone as your backup guards, I think that's a young pair off the bench that a lot of teams would love to have. 19, the Knicks are up here. I've got him taking Kai Jones, big man from Texas. Some people have this guy going to the lottery. I just think he's too raw. I don't know what is really like the big like buying points on him, why teams would want to take him up there. He spent 2 years in college at Texas, and he did improve, just not enough for me to put him in the lottery. He's a guy who can protect the rim. He can stretch the floor a little bit. Decent athleticism, but nothing. You're not going to post him up. He's not going to be able to come in and play a mass amount of minutes. I have the Knicks taking him because they have 2 picks, and they kind of, who knows what's going to happen with Mitchell Robinson, in free agency next year. restricted free agency that, he can kind of develop behind him, and they have at least a second option if they don't want to pay Mitch. 20, Atlanta is up. I have him taking Usman Garuba, big man from Spain. He's one of the top um, overseas prospects for this year's draft. He's about 6'8", 6'9". I've heard a lot of comparisons to Paul Millsap, maybe not as much offensively, but defensively he's a smaller big, but he's strong, and he can defend well post-wise, and he's pretty athletic. So Millsap kind of without the shooting and offensive game. He's not a bad offensive player, but he's not a guy you're going to go to. I have Atlanta taking him because Capella is a free agent next year, and Collins is a free agent this year. I know they took a Kungwu 6 in last year's draft, but Garuba is a little bit more versatile than him defensively. And in case they don't want to pay Collins and or Capella, I think he just gives you more depth for the future. And I think he's probably the best player available in terms of potential. 21, the Knicks are up again. I've got him taking Trey Murphy III, the forward from Virginia. He's got good size. He's a 3-and-D guy that everybody loves to have. Knicks love those type of guys. He can, a little bit bigger than Reggie Bullock, but can play a similar role to Reggie, and he's a free agent. Murphy's not going to come in and start right away on a playoff team like the Knicks, but he can come in, play 10 minutes a game, kind of the way Obi Toppin did last year, shoot the ball, defend, and who really knows what his ceiling is. I think he could be a good starter in the league. Like I said, he's about 6'8" for a 3, a 4. I like him. 22, the Lakers are up. They probably won't keep this pick. Bron never keeps his picks, but I've got him taking Chris Duarte, the 24-year-old guard out of Oregon. 24 years old, a little bit older than really most guys who get drafted ever in the recent era. But I like Duarte. He can shoot the ball. He's a 6'5", 6'6", 2 guard who can shoot, handle the ball some. He's a gritty player, can defend, decent athleticism. I like Duarte to come in and contribute to a playoff type team off the bench. 23 and 24, the Houston Rockets have back-to-back picks. I had him taking Jalen Green at 2, a guard, a wing. 23, I've got him taking another guard here, Tre Mann from Florida. Tre Mann, he can handle the ball well, decent playmaker, shoots the ball pretty well. His defense is questionable. He's not super athletic, doesn't have great size at 6'2", 6'3". I like Tre Mann to an extent, but I think, he's going to be able to come in and back up John Wall and have some potential there. I don't think it's a bad pick. In 24, Houston up again. I've got him taking the forward out of the University of Texas, Greg Brown III. He's one of the most athletic players, dynamic players in this class. Got a little bit of off-the-court issues, which I don't think Houston minds. I think they're trying to hit home runs with these picks probably, and I think Greg Brown could have the potential to do that. Like I said, super athletic, jumps out of the gym, versatile defender. He's not a great defender, but because of him being 6'7", 6'8", and super athletic, he can guard multiple positions. And inconsistent shooter, but he was kind of, contained from what he was allowed to do at Texas with Kai Jones and Jericho Sims and Coleman there. He was like the 4th, 5th option most of the time, so we didn't really get to see fully what he could do in his 1 year in college. 25, I got the LA Clippers taking Cam Thomas, guard at LSU. I saw him at Oak Hill. Saw him last year in his 1 year in college, and I like his size, being a 6'4", guard. I think he can come off their bench, give them buckets. He can, rise up and score over people. He's not a great playmaker, not a great defender, but he can come in and give you buckets, and that's what you're banking on him doing. Drafting him in the late first. 26, Denver, I've got him taking Josh Christopher, another guy who was projected to go a lot higher than what he probably will. This time last year when he was coming out of high school. 1 year at Arizona State, he was underwhelming. The team wasn't very good. He didn't play very good. He's not a consistent shooter or scorer, but with his potential, being a 6'5" athletic wing, I think, for a team like Denver, they're not looking for anybody to necessarily play right away. They're looking for people to, I think, grow, like Bol type players that can, have high ceilings. So, and RJ Hampton, who they obviously is in Orlando now, but they drafted him last year. Zeke Naji, these guys very rarely they take in the first round, come in and play a lot of minutes. So I think he could be a developmental wing for them. 27, I've got Brooklyn taking Jared Butler, the guard out of Baylor. Butler, he's another guy who's experienced. His off-the-court stuff, like his, I believe it was a heart condition or some type of medical condition, is what made him leave the combine. So who knows really what's going on there. I think that caused him to slip a little bit down here to the late first, but I think with his experience, his ability to shoot the ball, handle the ball, he's going to probably get taken here in the first round, and he's thick, he's strong, and I think he's a good pickup for Brooklyn to come off their bench and handle the ball. 28, I got the Philadelphia 76ers taking Brandon Boston Jr. from Kentucky, another 5-star one-and-done guy who underachieved in his 1 year in college on a not very good team. Another guy who shot the ball inconsistently. He's an inconsistent player, but with his 6'6" size, athleticism, he's got high potential, and I think Philly's another team that could afford to try to develop a guy off the bench. They don't have to come in and play right away. And they took, last year in the late first round, they took a Kentucky guy in Tyrese Maxey, who's a little bit more polished than Boston, a little bit more consistent, but it worked out. 29, Phoenix Suns, I've got them taking Deshaun Highland out of VCU. Bones Highland is a guy who can score the ball. Played at a little bit of a smaller school, still D1, but smaller school that doesn't put out a massive amount of talent, so he didn't get too much attention, but he played really well at the Combine, stayed in the draft, and I think he probably goes late first, early second here, with Campaign being an unrestricted free agent. I'm not saying he's going to be able to come in and play that role right away, but he could grow into that. He's a guy that can score the ball, handle the ball, good length, and I like Bones Highland. He really played well at the Combine. 30, last pick of the draft, or first round. I'm only doing first round, by the way. I've got the Utah Jazz taking JT Thor out of Auburn. Great size, a big forward that's long, athletic, lean, strong. He can jump. I think he can play a little bit small ball 5 because he can catch lobs, protect the rim probably a little bit. Very versatile defender. His shooting actually wasn't bad in his 1 year at Auburn. And, he's a guy who probably, I think he was a 3-star. He wasn't supposed to be one and done, but he is. So I think he probably goes in the same range, late first, early second. And lastly, I'm going to go with a few guys, some honorable mentions, some top available players left for my second round. Quick overview of these guys. You got Kessler Edwards from Pepperdine, guy who is a 3-and-D, 4-year college guy, catch and shoot. Then you've got Herbert Jones out of Alabama, versatile defender, pretty athletic, can handle the ball, can shoot the ball a little bit, not super consistent though, shooting and scoring. Day'Ron Sharpe, big man from UNC. He's like kind of a bruiser, old-fashioned, post him up, give you buckets inside. Then you got Miles McBride from West Virginia, who really raised his stock. Combine, measured 6'2" with like a 6'8" wingspan, or maybe it was even bigger. I mean, he's a great defender, plays super hard. Athletic. Then you got Josh Primo, who was one and done at Alabama, the youngest player in this class. He's still 18, from Canada. He's a guy who's really raising his stock, didn't play a lot at Alabama, dealt with injuries. He's a guy who can score the ball, play both guard spots. Then you've got Ayo Dosunmu, guard out of Illinois, is one of the Big Ten's best players. He's not super young. He played multiple years in college, so he's not projected to go super high. Could slip into the late first. He plays hard. Good size at like 6'5". You got Jericho Sims, big man from Texas. When I watched him at Texas, I thought he was better than Kai Jones, and I think he is, except he doesn't shoot as well as Kai Jones, and he is older. So him being a 4-year guy kind of lowers his stock, but I think he can come in and contribute, be a backup big. I think for some team, he'll be a steal in the early second round. He'll be one of these guys who could be like all-rookie team, and people will be like, how did he not go first round? He's super athletic, can protect the rim, catch lobs, of course. And lastly, Jaden Springer, a young guard that went to Tennessee. People are all over the place about him. Is he going to be a mid-first, late-first, second-round pick is what I have him going. I don't see anything too great about Jaden Springer, but I do see there is some potential, ceiling there that he could be a really good player. But I don't see anything too crazy good about him where I'm putting him in my first round, although he very possibly, could go in the first round. And that's it there. I'm not doing a second round like I said. And that's my 2021 NBA mock draft. Hope y'all enjoyed. Go ahead and drop a comment. We could debate. I'll reply to y'all. Drop a comment talking about who you have going where or how you agree with me. That's fine. Please like the video, subscribe for more, turn on the bell for post notifications. I'm going to start posting more NBA content off season and stuff like that. And I appreciate y'all for watching. Peace out.
I can see now. In the street with the bitch, you get beat down. No competing with me, you gon' cheat out. What you see on the scene, you don't speak about. I'm with the geeks and we keep that. I get the G's and I keep count. Hey, record.
I get my word from a narco.
Check the definition, write the description. Young is legend living, no competition. When I said it, they meant it. Automatic, I'm tripping. It get hectic, each trust, I'ma get my ambitions.